In this segment, Jewish devotional acts and objects, and Jewish views on women and on human sexuality. Very religious Jews will twice daily repeat the Shema prayer. The word Shema means hear. We've already seen this. It's Deuteronomy 6:4 in the Bible. Hear, O Israel, the Lord our God, the Lord is one. And not only is this prayer read, it's used in some special religious objects. They write out the Shema prayer on a tiny little scroll, and they roll it up and they put it in a little box. These are called tefillin, and they're worn on the left arm and on the forehead. Here's a young man praying at the Western Wall in Jerusalem, and he has head and arm tefillin on. It's a little bit hard to see in this picture because it's dark, but there's one right here, and there's one right there. Now that's an interesting practice. Why do they do that? The reason is that they interpret literally some things that are said in the Bible, things that God says about His own word, that is, about His own message. For instance, in Deuteronomy 11:18, it says, and this is Moses speaking to the people, "Let these words of mine remain in your heart and in your soul. Fasten them on your hand as a sign, and on your forehead as a headband. Teach them to your children, and keep on telling them when you are sitting at home, when you are out and about, when you are lying down, and when you are standing up. Write them on the doorposts of your house and on your gates, so that you and your children may live long in the country which Yahweh swore to your ancestors that He would give them for as long as there is a sky above the earth." The parts then about the arm and the forehead are taken literally. The mezuzah is a similar box, but not worn on the body, but attached to doorposts for the same reason. Another object you'll see is a talit or a talith. This is a prayer shawl. A prayer shawl is draped over one's whole upper body or over one's shoulders during daytime services or while praying. Other things you'll see are skull caps. Men wear a little cap that covers just the crown of their head. This is a way to meet the requirement of having a covered head while in services or during prayer, or just all the time as a special mark of being Jewish. And in Orthodox Judaism, the women will often wear wigs. They'll hide their hair. Also, some will cover their heads with a shawl when they're around non-family. So when they're in the home, they let it all hang out, so to speak. They just wear their hair in whatever style they want. But then when they're out of the home, they feel a need to cover it up, either by a wig or a shawl. Whereas the skull cap is more just a distinctive Jewish feature, a way to display one's Jewish identity. The wearing of a wig or a shawl over a woman's hair is considered to be an issue of modesty, not showing off. What are the different Jewish views, then, about women in general and about human sexuality? There's an interesting contrast here to Buddhism. If you read about sexuality in the Bible, you'll see that there's basically, fundamentally, a positive view of it taken. There's also a basically positive view taken about women. Women, it says, are made in God's image and likeness, just as much as men are. And you should understand that God is not literally understood to be male. There's a tradition of referring to Him as male, but not having a body, they don't think God is male or female, strictly speaking. And so both men and women can be made in His image and likeness. Sex is viewed then as part of creation. It's a good thing. There is in traditional and Orthodox Judaism an assumption of different gender roles, that God made men and women differently, and so there are different roles that are appropriate for them. The idea is that while men and women are equally valuable, there are different roles they should play in family and society, and there has been traditionally a strong tradition of male leadership. Rabbis have traditionally always been men, and the man is viewed as, in a sense, the leader of his household. In recent times, really only since the second half of the 20th century, some Jewish groups, the more visionary ones, so mostly Reform Judaism and other modernistic groups, have adopted feminist norms, where the idea is there shouldn't be different roles, and that it's inherently unfair, and that traditionally women have been oppressed and men need to share the power. One flashpoint of controversy here between more traditional Jewish groups and more modernistic or revisionary ones has been the ordination of women as rabbis. Orthodox Jews have strongly rejected the tradition of women as rabbis, but some Reform and other groups have accepted that practice. Traditionally, then, there are tons of rules that apply to human sexuality. They prohibit incest, adultery, gay sex, And yet sex is not viewed as an inherently bad thing, but as an inherently good thing. In Genesis, God tells Adam and Eve to be fruitful and multiply, and this is considered the normal way, that most people should get married and have children. That's viewed as important and as a part of the divine commission given to humanity. In our next segment, some Jewish holidays.